Let's see how many did go through the slides and listen carefully yesterday.
So this is up to 40, actually. So maybe.
Okay, let's see. If it allows, that would be great. So it does allow more than 10, huh?
Yes, so yeah.
Oh, great. Let me also join then. All right, let's start. And others who have not turned camera on, please turn your camera on. Congratulations, Katie, Yaukon, and Rob. Are you familiar with Porter's five forces? Oh, have you heard the name Michael Porter? I mean, besides the assignment, of course. Huh? No? Did you hear his name before in any of your courses? He's like one of the most popular scholar in management field. He's a professor at Harvard Business School. So he's given so many popular concepts. One is, of course, Potter's five forces. Other is Potter's diamond of competitive advantage, um, and of course, many other theories of strategy. So he's a pretty big name. But I'm sure you guys are familiar with SWOT, right? No?
Yes.
Right. So, SWOT analysis. Let's do SWOT analysis of, I don't know, Apple or electronics or phone industry. Let's do both simultaneously. So, what do you think are the strengths of Apple and the phone industry? What do you think is the strength of Apple? Why do you buy?
Uh,
Does any one of you have Android phone? Anybody in the class who has Android phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert,
uh,
you?
I think
Yeah.
like their Apple ecosystem where they're able to like seamlessly uh like bring together products like my phone and my MacBook or like a phone and an iPad. It's like pretty seamless.
Yes, seamless integration ecosystem. That is a strength. Yes.
Another strength for Apple, especially early on, was simplicity because it made it so everyone could use it. They didn't really need to have any computer knowledge to know how to use it, whereas, especially more early on, Android was much more like computer knowledge heavy, and it was a lot harder to, download things and do all of that.
Yeah, right. So there is I don't know, you know this person or not. So there is a stand-up comedian called Russell Peters, and in one of his videos, he said that iPhone and MacBook are for are stupid people's devices. And he said it as a compliment that because they are so easy to use that even a stupid can use them. So I guess that is a point that if even if someone doesn't have really good knowledge of how to use computers or phones, even they can use it. So that is a strength of Apple products. But still, my question still remains the same: that why does everyone in US buy Apple products? Why does everyone have uh, iPhones and very few people use Android phones? I use Android products. I've never bought an iPhone before,
Great
but
marketing.
huh?
Great marketing.
Marketing and I guess the brand image, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
marketing, brand image, yes.
Yeah, and I would
And
say like especially when like people around you also use iPhone, and iPhone is like really great for like to like when you try to act with other people's, so like AirDrop, it's like really easy to drop a file, share files with each other.
yes, yes. And Robert is correct, marketed as a luxury. So I'm from India and I've been to China as well before, and I've seen that how people are crazy for Apple products in that part of the world, primarily due to attachment of Apple to status, right? Just what Robert said, that it has been marketed as a luxury because the phones are so expensive. I have seen people in India spending their 1 month or 2 months salary on iPhones just because they want to show off the iPhone, right? So that is also one of the strengths, that it has been marketed as such. And I would also say that some of the features it has, especially its camera quality, at one point of time was so good in the sense that I remember 10 or 12 years ago, one of my friends in India had iPhone, and her phone had at that time 8 megapixel camera, and we had Android phones which had 8 megapixel camera. Both had a 8 megapixel camera, but the quality of the iPhone camera was so superior to that Android phone, that it was quite evident that uh, the the quality of the Apple products was much superior. But now I would say that the difference is not as much. I think probably Android phones have almost the same quality of camera and other specifications as iPhone. So the difference is not much now. Probably some of the Android phones might even be better than iPhones. But yeah, the Apple products were once known for their much superior quality. So that would also, I think, count as a strength. What
Yeah.
about, yeah, someone wants to say about it?
Like I think like one of the strengths of iPhone is like their system. Like when you buy an iPhone, you also want an AirPod and you want like a MacBook. So yeah, you just
Yeah,
like keep
integration.
buying it.
Yeah, ecosystem, integrated ecosystem is one of their primary strengths. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, what about the strength for phone industry as a whole, or electronic industry as a whole, whatever you want to say?
It's pretty
I
necessary.
would say convenience.
Convenience, yeah. So basically, you are saying that, yeah, necessity, yeah. So strength is that electronic products have become so necessary in our lives nowadays that there would never be a point, at least not that we can imagine, where electronic products won't be in demand, right? So that is a strength, that there would always be a demand for your products, right? So that is a strength, of course. Then weaknesses for Apple as well as electronic industry or phone industry.
It has a short product life cycle because you always need like updates or upgrades.
Very good, very good. That's probably the biggest weakness.
Also,
That yeah,
sorry. Also, the integrated ecosystem could also be a weakness because it's like hard to get into it if you have like another company as like your primary like for all your devices.
yeah. So one of the reasons why I won't buy an iPhone is because once I buy an iPhone, I would feel like buying in AirPod, MacBook, and then I will have to buy everything of Apple product, right? So it's a barrier to entry for me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's
And
expensive, I think.
Hmm?
It's expensive, as you say, like people in India, they spend 2 months' salary to buy it.
Yes. Yeah. Weakness for Apple is that it's all mostly targeted towards the middle and upper segment of the society. It's difficult for the lower strata of the society to buy Apple products, especially they can buy maybe renewed, refurbished, used products, but when a new iPhone or MacBook is launched, it's very difficult for them to spend $1,500 on a new product, right? So that could be a weakness.
So
like I
As
think like Apple has like last thing to change, like from Apple 17 to 18, like from Apple 8 to X, like they changed a lot of things, but right now they just improved their cameras, but nothing else.
yeah. So what I was saying a few minutes before that, at one point of time, they were known for innovation, right? Apple was known for innovative products. Every new iPhone launch would have something new. Their quality was superior, but the weakness now is that they're not coming with something new with their new launches, and the
Yeah.
difference between them and Android products is not much anymore. Probably no difference now, right? So that is a weakness for the firm, and for the weakness for the industry overall is very fast life cycle, right? As Nina said.
it also has a very tight security system. So if you're like a programmer, you can't really do customizations that you want to. With
In Apple products, right?
with Apple products.
Yeah. Yes. Uh, so one complaint that people have is that you cannot use pirated versions of softwares and things in Apple products, right? And MacBook and all, which you can easily use in Windows and other devices. So
I think one is that like Apple, they kind of like stop making new products and they just kind of go off of what they have now.
yeah, so lack of innovation. That the lack of innovation is a weakness currently for Apple, which they are struggling with. I think they still have people buying their products only because, as you all said, that people have become so integrated in the ecosystem that it's very difficult for them to leave the ecosystem. So that is why they keep buying new Apple products. But otherwise, if that is not the case, then many people would leave, would stop buying Apple products and probably switch to some other products, right? Okay, opportunities. What is the opportunity for Apple and for the industry?
As like AI and like machine learning is growing, they can like start implementing it into their products.
Definitely, 100%. AI is the biggest opportunity for the industry as well as Apple, no doubt.
Because of their
mm,
dominant market presence, they can partner with other companies very easily.
uh, they can partner with other companies very easily. What did you say then? Presence, where they want to increase the presence?
Like they have dominant market presence right now, so it's easy for them to partner with other things. Like for example, Beats.
Oh, okay. You mean like OpenAI and like other firms for AI and other opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. They can easily get these companies on board because of their name, because of their brand, because of Apple's brand. They can easily get. I mean, Apple can easily get these companies on board for partnership. That's an opportunity for sure.
I think VR is also like an opportunities for Apple because they got like a Vision Pro, and there's few products on the market like that's about like VR, but they can keep developing it, even though it's very expensive right now.
Yes, yes. Virtual reality is also a good opportunity for them to invest in and exploit the market for future. Yes, that's an opportunity. Then threat. What are the threats to the industry as a whole and also to Apple?
Their dependence on the supply chain.
Dependence on supply chain. So Apple gets. So we have okay. Good point. So I'll ask you this question. So who is the supplier for Apple? Where does Apple get its products from? Made from?
Would it not be China?
I think around the world. So that's why the tariff or like the geopolitical risk will really like affect the product.
Yes, all over the world. That's true. But as James said, China as well. So who's the biggest supplier for China, for Apple? Like who's the most popular supplier?
I think like
Foxconn?
China or Vietnam.
Hmm?
Is that like China or Vietnam?
No, that is the country. I am talking about the firm. Like who is the most
Oh.
popular supplier?
Isn't it Foxconn?
Yes, yes, yes. Foxconn. Foxconn is a Taiwanese firm, but it makes these uh, products in China. It's a Taiwanese firm, but it makes the Apple products in China. And because of this tariff war and all, Apple is moving a lot of its production to India and Vietnam and other friendly countries to evade the tariffs, right? So, very good point. Threat is one of the biggest threat is geopolitical risk because Apple does not make products or sell products with the objective just domestic customers, but global customers, right? Because a lot of its revenues come from outside US. So that is a big threat. Uh, what about the industry as a whole? What could be a threat for industry as a whole?
There's so many different electronics companies, so there's a lot of competition with pricing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but that is a good thing for the industry, right? Industry is growing, more firms are entering the industry. Could there be something that could harm the industry?
I think electricity costs and costs for development. So things like RAM are going up a lot because of the AI demand. So it might be harder to, add more RAM into the cell phones and to actually improve the phones.
Electricity costs, and basically, what you are saying is kind of, uh, as we hear every day in news that a lot of demand for electricity or increase in the demand of electricity consumption due to AI, right? It's said that your one prompt, if you add like please in your prompt, you it would result in the use of one glass of water more for the servers to suck up the electricity, right? So that could be a threat. And if we see from other firms' perspective, then what Aishwarya said that there is very tough competition. So that could be a threat. What about the opportunity for Apple? Do you see Apple targeting lower segment of the phone industry as an opportunity? Say if Apple starts producing $150 phone or $200 phone, do you think that that could be an opportunity or no?
I
Would
don't
it do
think
that or
so.
huh?
Oh, I don't think so because they have like their brand like to like positioning in a expensive position, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the reasons why they have not done that till now is because they have deliberate positioning. they are positioning themselves as a higher brand, superior brand, or luxury brand, whatever you want to call it. And I think they did. So you're right. They would never launch such an inexpensive phone. And I think they did launch a $300 phone a few years ago, right? iPhone XS, XS, if I remember correctly. But it did not. It did not become much popular. Right? People did not buy a lot. So I think they are done with that strategy, and they are positioning in a certain manner deliberately. So they would never launch a phone in that category, right? So, all right, yeah. So we can do SWOT analysis for anything, for a company, product, place, industry, or person, right? And maybe some of your student clubs or societies might have got you SWOT analysis done for yourself, right? In some of the e-board meetings or something. We used to do that when I was in my undergrad. So yeah, so this is what we can do for our company, for our firm, uh, whenever we are formulating the strategy for our company. Right. So Porter's five forces. What are Porter's five forces? Bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of excuse me, buyers, threat of new entrants, and threat of substitutes. So while some of the name, some of it makes it clear by the name, but we will also go over each one of them one by one. So intensity of rivalry is probably the most important force of the five forces. Um, so as Ashwarya and some of you said that phone industry as a whole is very competitive, right? More and more firms keep entering the industry, and it's very cutthroat competition in phone electronic industry as a whole, right? So what? How do we calculate the competitiveness or rivalry of an industry? We do it by firm concentration ratio. What is firm concentration ratio? So, say you pick up the top five firms or top six firms of the industry, and then you calculate the market share. So, you remember what we were talking about yesterday? Monopoly, duopoly, oligopoly, perfect competition. So, monopoly is when the first firm in the industry or the largest firm in the industry has more than 90% market share or 80% market share, right? That would be monopoly. So firm concentration ratio is always defined for a particular number of firms. So while defining firm concentration ratio, you will first have to give how many number of firms you are talking about. Say you are talking about two firms or three firms or four firms. So first you will have to give the number. If I say that firm concentration ratio of this industry for one firm is 90%, that would mean it's a monopoly. If I say that the firm concentration ratio of the two largest firms of the industry is 80%, that would mean it's a duopoly, right? If I say that the firm concentration ratio for 15 firms of the industry is less than 60%, that would mean that it's almost a perfect competition scenario, because even the top 15 firms of the industry have less than 60% market share. So it means that there are probably 25 or 30 or 40 firms in the industry which have some good percentage of market share. Good percentage means maybe 2%, 2.5%, 1.5%, but so on and so forth. And when you add them up, the top 15 still have less than 60% market share. So that would mean it's almost a perfect competition scenario. If I say that the top six firms of the industry have 60% market share, that would mean it's like an oligopoly. Do you get the point? Right? So that is how we define how competitive the industry is. Not exactly competitive. Even five firms can be very competitive. Even two firms can be very competitive. But it basically gives us an idea about the concentration of the industry, right? Then what other factors influence this thing rivalry? Advertising budget. So, uh, have you seen advertisements for heavy machinery firms like, I don't know, like tractor or farm machines which are used for farming? Do you see their advertisements on YouTube or even around you in general? Very rare, right?
Yeah.
While on the other hand, if you think of this electronic industry and all, you see advertisement every day, right? You would see Apple's advertisement, Samsung advertisement, or food chains advertisements, restaurants. So some industries, so basically these industries, heavy machinery industries, they are very slow cycle. So I think one of you used fast cycle. Nina, I think, said that phone industry is very fast moving, fast cycle industry, right? So every 6 months there is some update. On the other hand, these industries like heavy machinery, they are very slow cycle, slow moving industries, and so they do not spend much on advertising budget. uh, Path breaking or groundbreaking innovations happen very rare, like once in 15 years, once in 20 years, or something. So they don't need much advertising budget. Similarly, even local, uh, what is it called, mom and pop shops, they also don't need any advertising. They are already known in the local community, right? So that would also influence how competitive your industry is. Then online versus brick and mortar businesses, yeah, the same thing. Brick and mortar businesses generally cater to the local community. They don't advertise much, or they do advertisement through local means like dropping pamphlets in the houses and all. Rate of industry growth, we already talked about fast moving cycle and slow moving cycle industries. Lack of differentiation or low switching costs. So uh, lack of differentiation or low switching costs is like when I go to Walmart or my local grocery store for buying bread, I don't care which bread, what company's bread it is. I just pick whatever the first bread I lay my hands on. I don't even care. I don't even know the names of the bread companies. There's very little differentiation. I probably would choose the one on the basis of the maybe lowest cost. So the switching cost is very low. Or say if I go and buy a table or a chair, I don't care what the brand of the table or the chair is. I'll probably pick the lowest cost one. So differentiation is very low. Switching cost is very low. So that would also that would make the industry more competitive, right? How, I mean, you would have to do something very unique to stand out from others. Are you getting the point? What I'm trying to say, right? So in these kind of industries, the differentiation is lacking, switching cost is low. That makes the industry more competitive. Then high strategic stakes or high exit barrier. So you remember the COVID times? We all remember COVID times. We'll probably never forget the COVID times, right? So do you remember how nobody was flying? Airlines were, all the aircrafts were grounded, but still airlines did not exit the market. Nobody shut down. Nobody closed their companies. Many companies, many businesses closed in other industries, especially local businesses, small businesses. They were forced to close down forever. But airlines and all, they did not close because it's not possible for them to drop out from the market. Government would not allow that. Government will bail them out because these are strategic industries. Do you remember during 2008 recession how government bailed out General Motors and other finance firms, automobile firms? Government literally stepped in, gave them money, bailed them out when they filed for bankruptcy. Or during 9/11, many airlines had filed for bankruptcy except Southwest. When you will read the case, you will get to know. Why? Because these are strategic industries. Once you enter, you cannot exit. It's very, very difficult to exit because these are strategically important for the nation. They support hundreds and thousands of jobs. So governments do not allow them to exit the market. So that also makes the industry very competitive and important. High stakes, basically. Right? That's not true for every industries. If you want to open a bread making, firm, you can exit. Nobody is stopping you from exiting. But if you are in something like this, you know, like General Motors and all, why they are important? Because they are considered representative of US. They are considered, um, like President Trump had used one statement in 2017 in his first term that Harley Davidson cannot make its bikes outside US when they decided to move the manufacturing to Europe. He said that Harley Davidson cannot do that because Harley Davidson signifies US. It's personification of US. So we cannot allow a firm that represents us to go abroad. The case is same with other automobile firms or say these airline firms. So high exit barriers and high strategic stakes. Then threat of new entrants. So when during early 2000s, when a lot of engineering colleges started cropping up in India, every month there was one engineering college being launched. So before that, most of the engineering colleges in India used to have only three majors. We call them branches in India, and here we call them majors. Only three: mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and electrical engineering. Those were considered the core engineering branches. Whatever new engineering college would open up, they would have only those three branches. But from early 2000s, whenever new engineering colleges were launched or established, they used to have only two majors: computer science and IT. Why? Because there was huge barrier to entry in these other branches. Because if you have to open mechanical engineering or civil engineering or electrical engineering, you would need very heavy machinery as labs. You will have to teach lab also, right? You will have some lab credits. But the machines required to teach civil, mechanical, or electrical, they're heavy machinery, they're very expensive, and not everybody knows how to operate them. But what do you need to teach computer science and IT? Just like 10 computers, 20 computers. Let's make a lab, one big room, place 10 or 20 computers. That's it. Very little budget, very little investment. So, threat of new entrants is defined by barriers to entry, right? Or another example. So yesterday we discussed how airline industry has primarily two major firms, Boeing and Airbus, right? I mean, there are some few other firms, but they are mainly focused on civilian aircraft. Like helicopters or personal jets and all. The only two major firms which have more than 95%, all other firms are focused on defense aircrafts and all. The only two major firms that have 95% market share are Boeing and Airbus, right? So there's a reason why there are only two firms. So first firm was Boeing. Then European Union thought that, oh, we should also have something of our own. We need to be, Europe used to see itself as a competitor of US. So they propped up Airbus. They funded, European Union literally funded Airbus because it requires huge investment. Then when China started becoming major superpower, China could also have thought that, oh, we also need to have our own firm. We want to, uh, challenge US and Europe supremacy. But China did not come up with its own firm. Why? So there's a reason behind that. That market does not support entry of third firm. So imagine it like this. Say there is demand of 200 aircrafts every year in the whole world, right? So some Indian airline firms will order some aircrafts, some Thai firms, Vietnam, Peru, Brazil. And the global demand is 200 aircrafts per year. And currently the scenario is that uh, Airbus and Boeing barely make it through to the global demand. So it's like 80. So to have a break even, Boeing and Airbus both need to make like 80. These are imaginary numbers. These are not true numbers. I'm just giving an example. So Airbus and Boeing both need to sell at least 80 aircrafts per year to break even. So both will sell 116 total, and then remaining 40 will give them profits. Okay. Now, if China decides to come up with a third firm, which would also need, say, 60 or 80 aircrafts to break even, what would happen? If all three of them sell 60 each, because there only 200, you can sell only 200 aircrafts in total every year, right? So all three of them will incur losses. None of the three would be able to break even or make profits, right? So uh, the size of the market does not allow entry of third competitor, or what we call uh, in the business terms, early first mover advantage, right? So Airbus and Boeing and Airbus have first mover advantage, and now there is no scope for a third firm or third competitor in the market. So that is also a barrier to entry, right? Capital requirements, right? So Airbus and Boeing, they were able to become the first competitors because this industry requires a lot of capital requirement. Then switching costs. Switching costs. One example that you guys just gave was of Apple ecosystem. We saw how I just said that I cannot buy iPhone because if I buy iPhone, then I will have to buy MacBook, AirPods, and everything that is every Apple product to get integrated into the ecosystem. And the reason why people are not able to leave, despite Apple not coming up with any new features in its phones, is because they are so integrated in the ecosystem that it's very difficult for them to switch. So switching cost is another barrier to entry, right? What other examples can you think of switching cost? What OTT subscription do you have? Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, HBO.
I have Netflix.
So one of the reasons why, huh? Yes, Catherine?
Oh, I thought you were asking which one that we subscribe to.
Yeah. Yes. So you said Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why people keep Amazon Prime subscription is because that's also switching cost, right? Because if you have Amazon subscription, then you think that, oh, I can also order on Amazon and also keep the Prime. I also watch movies on Prime. So I don't need another OTT subscription, right? So it becomes a barrier for them to subscribe to another. I mean, you can, of course, you can have multiple subscriptions. People do have, but I'm just saying that it's an example of how you get a reason to not switch to another one or not have another subscription because you think that, oh, I already have Amazon subscription. So why do I need another subscription? Right? Or flying miles. Once you start accumulating flying miles of an airline, and then you would think twice before uh, booking another airline, right? Because you would think that, oh, I'm already accumulating miles on my so and so airline, so why should I switch to another one? Same with credit cards, right? So all these are switching cost examples. Then economies of scale. Do we all understand economies of scale? You all must have taken micro and macro 101. Can somebody please define economies of scale for me? Anybody?
As production of like a product increases or like a company starts making more, the average cost per unit goes down.
Right. Exactly. That's the correct definition. So when you increase the number of units production, then per unit cost price comes down, right? That is economies of scale. So that is another barrier to entry for a new entrant, because all these firms like Apple and all, they have cut their costs so much. Like Apple gets like, I don't know, like 1 million, 2 million phones made in a Chinese factory at a very low cost. So for a new entrant, it's very difficult to match that scale, right? Because they won't have much demand, so they cannot cut cost to that scale. What do you think is the average cost price for an iPhone? How much does it cost Apple to make an iPhone? Give me the selling price and cost price both for an iPhone. What do you think it is?
I think like it's less than $50 to make a phone. Like
No.
cost.
That is way too low. So you think that they spend only $50 on making a phone, and then they sell the phone at $1,200. So they're getting like $1,150 profit.
Yeah, just making a guess.
No.
I think around 200 to 300.
Yeah, a little more.
I would say 500.
I guess it's 500. Yeah.
I mean, you can open Google and check. I don't mind. It's like I guess around $500 something.
Yeah,
to
200
make
to
a phone.
$500.
Yeah, it's like $500 cost price, and then they sell it at like $1,100, $1,200 something. So, and that is with the complete economies of scale. They get the cheapest labor, and they have everything set up, predefined. So that is the economies of scale advantage. And of course, there could be government policy affecting as well, like if the if the local government or host government does not allow foreign competitors, it happens in many countries, many South American countries, or say Cuba and all. It's not easy for a foreign company to enter, right? It's a huge barrier to entry. So government policy can also affect your operations, whether that would allow new entrant or not. So all these are threat of new entrants. Threat of substitute products. How many things have mobile phones substituted in the last 20 years? One mobile phone, how many things has this one single device substituted? Like I haven't used a watch. I don't wear watch in like 15, 17 years. I used to when I was in middle school or something. But since I have started using phones, I've stopped using watches.
They
What are
replaced
the things?
calendars.
Calendars, right?
They
Physical
replaced.
photos.
Hmm?
Physical photos.
Physical photos, yes. Cameras and physical photos, both, yes.
Alarm clocks.
Alarm clocks, correct.
Like maps as well.
Maps as well, yes, absolutely.
Phone
Wallets.
books.
Alexa, what do you say?
Oh, I was just saying wallets because we have Apple Pay now, so you can put your cards on your phone.
Yes, wallets as well. Yes. Somebody else was also saying something.
Contacts and phone books.
Contacts and phone books, yes, yes. Diaries. I take notes in Google Notes. Mm. So many more things like um, pen. Uh, I don't carry pen anymore. I should carry. I'm in academia. I should ideally carry a pen. But uh, pen drives, USB drives, pen drives, even laptops and computers in many cases. A lot of work you can do on laptops and computers, right? While traveling and all. I hardly read physical books. I generally read PDFs. So many things. So that's a substitute product, right? So yeah, in case of Apple, I would say there's less of threat of new entrant, and Apple has more of threat of substitute products, right? Because for a new firm to challenge Apple, it's very difficult, but people can switch to say Google phones or Samsung phones, right? Other substitute products. So when we make strategy for our firm, we need to ask these are the questions we can ask ourselves to check how substitutable is our product. So let's compare two products. One is table and one is phone. So let's ask first question. Do without the product. Can you do without table or can you do without phone? Can you do without phone? I cannot do without phone. I don't think so. Not at all. Not even 24 hours. I'm a phone addict. Can I do without table? Yes, I can do without table. I don't mind. Can you buy used versus new? Can I buy used phone? Yes, I can. Can I buy used table? Of course, all the time. Why do I need a new table? Can I rent a table or can I rent a phone? I cannot rent a phone. Not possible. I can rent a table. Yes, I can rent a table. Can I do it yourself? Can I make my own phone? No, I cannot make my own phone. Can I make, I mean, customers from the perspective of customers? So we are the company right now. So we can ask, we are going to ask, can customer make their own phone? No, they cannot make their own phone. Can customer make their own table? Kind of. Most of the times, no, but maybe in like suburban area or countryside, people do these kind of tasks on their own, so they might. So that is how we evaluate how substitutable our product is. Bargaining power of suppliers. So take this example of Foxconn that we were discussing, the supplier of Apple. Foxconn has many customers, not just Apple. So Foxconn supplies products to HP, I guess Samsung as well, Dell, HP, all these big electronic firms. So supplier is powerful. Supplier is not dependent on Apple alone. Supplier can say that, oh, you don't agree to the deal. Well, I have other customers to sell my product to. But Apple gives its 50% revenues to Foxconn. Foxconn 50% revenues come from Apple. So in this case, buyer also has some power. Supplier and buyer both are powerful, right? Suppliers in airplane industry have only two options: Airbus and Boeing, right? If they are selling parts to only airplane companies, if they are selling parts to other automobile firms, so if they are making wings, then they can sell to only two companies, Airbus and Boeing. But if they are making engines, then they maybe can sell to other car firms as well besides airplane firms, right? So in that case, they will have more power. Supplier will have more power, right? Or nuts and bolts companies, which sell to so many industries. So if I make nuts and bolts, I'm not just selling to car firms. I'm selling to home equipment firms like table and chair firms as well. I'm selling to um, other toys firms as well, maybe. So I'm selling to so many industries. So I have a lot of power. My customers are very diverse. So it all depends on switching cost and integration. Can integrate forward or cannot integrate forward. So what is integration? So there is a case, Tesla case that we teach in fall and spring semester in BPS. We don't teach that case in winter semester because this semester is so short. So in Tesla case, it is mentioned that the crazy Elon is in 2014 or 15 he decided that Tesla would make its own car seats. So ideally, automobile firms buy these products, buy these components from other firms like tires, electronics, equipments in the car seats, nuts and bolts, all these things they buy from other firms, right? But Elon said that he is not satisfied with the quality of car seats that these suppliers provide. So Tesla would make its own car seats. What is that called? Integrating backward. That would be integrating backward, right? Upstream integration, supply chain integration. Integrating forward would be if Tesla has its own distributors. Downstream integration, right? You understand how these supply chain terms, right? So if buyer poses a threat to integrate backward, if Tesla officials are doing a deal with a car seat company and they are not happy with the quality and they say that, oh, you do not agree to our terms and conditions, then we will start making our own car seats. We will integrate backward. Then supplier would feel threatened that, oh, they're not going to buy from us. So a buyer is powerful when it poses a threat to integrate backward. means upstream supply chain integration, and downstream supply chain integration would be when the if in this case you distribute your own products yourself. You do not outsource the job to a distributor. That would be integration forward, right? So all these factors would affect bargaining power of suppliers and buyers, and they would depend on switching costs, integration, and how much you are dependent on a particular buyer or supplier. What is your total sales or suppliers coming from a single supplier or buyer? So these are five forces, right? Then external analysis of the environment. So we can classify into three categories. One is general environment, that is whole environment. Then we would narrow it down to industry environment, and then we would narrow it down to further competitor analysis. So general environment is, have you heard the term pastel? Pastel, PESTLE or PESTEL? Pastel analysis. Anybody? So pastel is like political, economic, environmental, technological, legal, and social. This is pastel analysis. Just like SWOT analysis, you can do pastel analysis for anything. Okay. So physical environment. How does your physical environment affect your company's policies? So electronic cars were introduced solely because of global warming, right? So that is an influence of physical environment on your industry and your company's policy or strategy. Or take for example, people are preferring vegan products nowadays because of environmental consciousness. So that is also an external environment, physical environment's influence on your industry and your company. Sociocultural. um Sociocultural is like you cannot sell certain things in certain regions. You have to modify a product according to a country or a region, right? Like for example, female education is banned in Afghanistan. So if you were uh, a firm that were making school uniform for students in Afghanistan, suddenly half of your customers are gone, right? So it would affect your industry as well as your company, right? So market for female students. So not just uniforms, all the products that were being sold to females are all gone, and it can come back again if suppose one day they start allowing females to go to school and colleges, right? So that would affect our strategy, depending on socio-culture environment, right? Then global. uh, Nowadays every firm has to have a global outlook. You cannot make a strategy by just keeping a domestic market in mind. So like Apple does not, so whenever Apple makes a product, it does not think of just US customers anymore. It thinks about global customers, right? It thinks about how the how their products, how the customers would like their products in other big markets as well, like China, India, Brazil, right? So global outlook. So whatever is happening beyond your country's borders also affects your company's policy and strategy, right? Technological. Of course, we all know what is the effect of AI nowadays, right? Technological environment affects us. Google. So as soon as OpenAI launched ChatGPT, Google was forced to come up with Bard. And I don't know if you guys remember um, the launch of Bard. What happened? So they gave some prompts and it gave such bad results. Like it was, so if you have written a prompt like shows a photo of ancient Chinese emperor, and Bard would give you a photo of a white person or a black person. Those kind of mistakes it was making at that time. It was very embarrassing launch at that time, because Google launched Bard in such a hurry, in such a rush, due to pressure of catching up with ChatGPT, that it could not make a good AI engine at that time. And then now Bard has been renamed to Gemini, right? And now AI is in literally everything. Like Instagram has its own AI, Adobe Acrobat Reader has its own AI, WhatsApp has AI, Gmail has AI, everything has AI,
Better.
right? Yeah. Then political and legal, we know how tariffs and trade war, tariffs, regulations, and policies affect our business and industry. So it's pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Then demographic. Uh, have you seen those age pyramids, demographic pyramids, or population pyramids of countries? So say this. This is an age pyramid of Japan. So you see how over the years the young population is declining and old population is increasing. What does it bode for? What does it mean for economy? How does it affect economy?
There's less workers, so the economy is going to suffer.
Less workers, so less taxpayers, more aged people, so more pressure on healthcare, right? And basically, modern economy is completely based on consumerism. That is capitalism, right? How much you consume. They want you to consume more and more. They want you to spend more and more. But if there are less people who spend and more people who need care, then it's not good for economy. Not for a capitalist economy, at least, right? So if I am a firm who wants to internationalize, or I'm an American firm and I want to go abroad, and my sole and only factor, deciding factor to go abroad is demography or population. Would I choose a Japan or would I choose, say, an Africa? I would choose an Africa, right? If given that the only criterion for me to go abroad is demography, because I see that in future there would be more consumers in Africa or an African country than Japan, right? That is a very monochromatic way of looking at it, because another factor that we need to factor in is economic, which means that though Sweden, Norway, Finland are very small countries, a million, 2 million, 3 million population, and maybe a Ghana or Nigeria is a much bigger country in terms of population, that they have like 30 million, 25 million, 20 million population. But why do firms still prefer going to Sweden, Denmark, or Finland? Is because economic factor kicks in or comes in, which means that if my product is worth $1,000, say if I am selling iPhones, despite 30 million population in Ghana, maybe only 500,000 people can afford an iPhone because of their spending power. It's not a rich country. They cannot spend that much. Their per capita income is low. And maybe despite being just 3 million population of Finland, I can still sell 1 million or 1.5 million iPhones there, because they can afford it. They can spend that much money, right? So, despite being a small population, the economic factor differentiates or makes a difference there in those countries. So all these factors are a part of external environment analysis, and in simple terms, they are sometimes called pastel analysis. Then how do we analyze external environment? We first scan it and we monitor it. Then we forecast or project or predict that, oh, I can sell 500 products per month if I launch my product. If I start my company, then I can uh, sell 500 products per month or per year. And then we have to assess that how accurate I am depending on the environmental changes, right? We all use data analytics now. It's a popular thing. So many jobs, so many data analyst or business analyst jobs nowadays. So that is their job of forecasting and all, right? Then we have to gather intelligence of our competitors, and we have to gather that through legal and ethical practices. What is I'll come to competitor intelligence in a moment, but first we see what are complementers. So what are complementers for a firm or for a product? Like for phone, Google Play apps are complementers. They complement the mobile phone, right? Intel and Microsoft are complementers. Car and tire companies are complementers, right? So that is what is meant by complementers. And competitor intelligence. What is competitor intelligence? So we have to know what our competitors or rivals are working on. What are they thinking? So if Google knew somehow that OpenAI is going to launch ChatGPT, it would have started working on its own product, right? One way how these firms gather competitor intelligence is one of the most common ways is to hire their engineers. So if Microsoft wants to know what Google is working on, it can always, somebody applies from Google to Microsoft opening, and they decide to they see their CV, a resume, and they see oh, this guy is working as a chief scientific engineer on in Google at 500K. We will quote 800K or 1 million to him, and let's get him, right? That's what happens in Silicon Valley, in Bay Area all the time, right? But it should be through legal and ethical practice. So an example of what not to do, but it still happens, is last year Disney experienced a massive data breach, and all the Disney data, including details about unreleased product projects, were all made available. And where do you think is this data made available? Where do you think this data is all available? Where can you find this data if you want to? So if somebody is a hacker or something, or some internal person at Disney copied all this data and he has all the data, he wants to sell this data to Disney's competitors. And Disney is in so many segments. How many segments is Disney present in? Disney is a perfect example of synergies, how it uses the same product in multiple segments. So Disney is in amusement parks, right? That is one segment. And Disney is in filmmaking, right? Then Disney has merchandise of these things, sells shirts, sweatshirt, OTT platform as well, and basically using the same product but in multiple ways, right? It's a perfect example of synergies. Corporate, we will see it again in the corporate strategy. So all this data is is with a person. Now that person wants to sell that data. How can, do you think that he will make an Instagram post that you, oh, I have all the Disney data, if somebody wants to buy, please DM me, quote me a good price? Not gonna do that, right? So where do you think is this data available?
I'll put it on forums.
Forums?
Yeah, dark web forums.
Dark web. So that is the term I wanted to hear. Yeah, dark web forums. Yes. So it will be available on dark web, right? Tor browser, as I was talking about yesterday, or maybe Telegram as well. I know a lot of piracy goes on in Telegram. So yeah. So do you think if I am a Disney competitor, say I am a Universal Studio, Universal Amusement Park and all, I'm a CEO of Universal Studios. Should I buy this data? Hmm?
No,
Will I buy this data?
no, because it would be illegal, and if you get caught, like it wouldn't be like worth the risk.
So, so you think that these CEOs don't do illegal things? They will not buy this data because it's so illegal, so unethical, and they are the most ethical persons in the world, huh? Should I buy this data? No, but will I buy this data? Most likely, yes. No, none of these top firms are very upright and very moral and ethical firms. What do you think? So most likely, not most likely, I'm 100% sure they would have bought this data.
I wouldn't buy it if I was with Universal, but if I was like a financial analyst, like about to predict like earnings call, maybe I would.
So if you were a Polymarket, if you were an employee at Polymarket or Kalshi, you will buy this. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm just saying like what happens in the real business world, real corporate world. I mean, these CEOs don't miss a chance to drag their competitors down and overtake them. So most likely, I mean, this is a different question whether they should do this or not. But whether they do this or not, that's a different question, and they do this all the time. So this was industry external environment analysis, and then we move to industry analysis. So from external environment, we narrow down to industry. And industry is basically what is five forces. So industry analysis is just threat of new entrants, power of threat of product substitutes, suppliers and buyers, right? And then comparator analysis. Comparator analysis is again the same as comparator intelligence is basically comparator analysis that you scan, monitor, forecast, and assess. Right. What are the common analysis pitfalls that firms do while analyzing? So one is that they pay attention to all the forces equally. You should not pay attention to all the forces equally. You should focus on the Porter's five forces which affect you the most. Like, for example, what I was saying is Apple does not have much threat of new entrant, but Apple has threat of substitutes more, right? Ignoring industry trends and confusing cyclical or transient changes with true structural changes. So, like, for example, at one point of time, we used to have VCR players in your parents' generation, right? Then we moved to CDs and DVDs, CD players, DVD players. There was a firm called Moser Bayer. One of my family members used to work for Moser Bayer. It used to make CDs and DVDs, but it has gone out of business because it did not update itself with the true structural changes, because slowly people moved to USB and pen drives, and then even pen drives and USBs also went out of fashion, and now people just share videos and photos through, you know, uh, Dropbox and all these things, Google Drive and all, right? Or even the Polaroid example that I was giving yesterday. No, I did not read the industry change that people are not in, that people are moving towards mobile phones which have very good cameras, so they are not going to buy Polaroid cameras much. Right. So yeah, and now we are, from VCR we have come to cloud storage now. So these are common analyst pitfalls. Basically, we should prioritize our Potter's 5-4. Which of the Potter's 5-4s we need to focus on the most, that we should prioritize. So this was chapter 2